breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Dylan Rockford, who does such amazing work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We have to chat it up with him about what we're seeing in this just wild landscape in the American League with the playoff race. We also have to be talking about some of these National League teams that might be providing a little bit of upside with regards to wild card race as well. Can the Mets play a little bit of spoiler? And then we'll take a look at the slate that we've got on this Wednesday in the final segment. Gonna get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larry ZM, maybe does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we did have ourselves a great day of baseball on Tuesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
A rare high-scoring Yankees game as the Astros get a 9-7 win over the Bronx Bombers. For Ethan Petco, not the start he was looking for. 5 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Cody Bellinger, welcome back. 12th home run in the campaign. Luis Garcia, 27th from there. Bennett Sosa, 5 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels. Steven Okert allows a run in 2/3 of an inning. Brian Abreu, a run given up in an inning, but a 4-out save from Josh Hader. And Will Warren, not a bad start, not a great start. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, given up in his 5 innings of work, as you had Yunior Diaz get his 9th home run in the campaign. And then off of Brian Hedrick, Diaz would go deep again. Home run number 10 of the season. And then Fernando Cruz gives up home run to Jeremy Pena, 15th home run of the season for Hedrick. Gives up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning, including that bomb. Yuri De Los Santos, a scoreless inning. Cruz gives up 2 runs in an inning, including that home run. And then you did have 1 run allowed in 1 1/3 innings from Bradley Hanner. So a little bit of a rough one there for the New York Yankees. The other New York team, though, gets the job done. The Metropolitans, 3-2 winners over the Milwaukee Brewers. Kyle Harrison, not long for this game, but solid. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings was taken deep by Francisco Lindor, 13th home run season. And the Mets win this game despite leaving 11 men on base, as these two teams went a combined 3 of 23 with men in scoring position, and there have been a lot of men left on base the last few days if you've been taking overs. Meanwhile, Zach Thornton, 1 run allowed in 6 innings, scatters 7 hits. Nate Lavender from there, 2 shutout innings. Meanwhile, for the Brewers, Chad Patrick, he gives up a home run in 2/3 of an inning of work, as Luis Robert, his 10th home run of the campaign. From there, Antonio Senzatella was able to get far outside the bullpen. Squirrels, Aaron Ashby, a squirrel inning, and then Trevor McGill, he was able to pitch a squirrel inning, but in the 10th, you had Christopher Morel get a fielder's choice that ended the game. And for the Metropolitans bullpen, Austin Warren gives up a run in the 3rd inning, but Jeffrey Yan, pair of outside the bullpen Squirrels, and Jonathan Pintaro, a squirrel thing to be able to get that one in. The Royals, yes, the Royals have now won 9 straight games, 5-3. They take down the Blue Jays. Again, another game where if you had the over, 22 men left on base, a combined 3 of 24 with men in scoring position, as Max Scherzer walks 5, but only gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, Braden Fisher, 2 unearned runs given up in a 1/3 of an inning. You had a Vlad Guerrero throwing error that really killed him. Mason Flaherty, pair of outside the bullpen Squirrels. Paul Sewald, Brandon Little, both give you a scoreless inning, and then you had Tyler Rogers give up a run in an inning, and Seth Lugo keeps the damage minimal, gives up a run in 5 innings. From there, John Schreiber, Nate Pearson, and Connor Thomas all give you a scoreless inning, and then 2 runs given up in an inning of work by Steven Cruz, but damage by then, it had already been done. Being able to do some damage, how about what we saw from the Boston Red Sox in extra innings? 7-3, they take down the Miami Marlins in 11 innings. This was a game that, going into the 10th inning, was 2-2. As for the Red Sox, Peyton Doley gives up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. You had Alberto Hernandez get his 20th home run of the campaign. And for Mickey Gasper, he had the 2 runs for the Red Sox in the first 9 innings. Home runs number 4 and 5 of the campaign goes deep off of Tyler Phillips, gives up that home run in 4 2/3 innings, and then off of Tyler Zuber, gives up a run in an inning. Victor Vodnik, and out of the bullpen scoreless. And then from there, Michael Peterson, great name, Josh Eknes, Calvin Fauché, Jack Ralston, all give you a scoreless inning. And then you had in the 11th inning, Cade Gibson give up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, including a home run to Jaron Duran, his 18th home run of the campaign. For the Red Sox bullpen, rock solid here as Teran Guerrero, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Greg Weiser, Eric Miller both give you a scoreless inning. Wyatt Olds, he does give up an unearned run in extra innings in 2/3 of an inning, but Alec Gamboa, 4 outs between the 10th and the 11th inning. Squirrels to be able to get that one to the window. Being able to get this one in, the Colorado Rockies, 3-1. They take down the Washington Nationals. They've been improved a little bit on the road, and for the Rockies, in his MLB debut, not bad year from Mason Adams. Does give up a solo home run in his 4 innings of work as he was taken deep by Dale Lyle, 17th home run of the season, and second of the series, but Brendan Bernardino, Jaden Hill, Jimmy Harrigan, Mark Manfredi, and also Jordan Romano all give you a scoreless inning, and Andrew Alvarez, 3 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. Hunter Goodman, fresh off the injury list, he was a good man, 35th home run of the campaign. From there, Brad Lord said Old Lord to 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Max Cranach, Jake Bird, they both give you the bird. They both give you a scoreless inning, but by then the damage had very much been done. Being able to do some damage, how about the Baltimore Orioles, 13-1. They take down the St. Louis Cardinals as for the Cardinals, Matthew Liberatore, 8 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, including a pair of bombs. Pete Alonso, 31st home run of the season. Christian Encarnacion Strand, his 7th home run of the season. Chris Bassett had you hook, line, and sinker. 1 run allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Gives up a home run to Nate Church, his 10th home run of the campaign. From there, Yunier Cano and out of the bullpen scoreless, and then you were able to have 2 shutout innings here from Anthony Nunez, Peter Strzelecki, 4 runs allowed in a third of an inning. Caleb Ferguson, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Ryan Fernandez, 2 shutout innings, and Pedro Paz, that would be a position player, scoreless inning of his own. For the White Sox, they jump all aboard Jacob deGrom in their 11-7 win. If you read it 7-11, they were both open and giving up a lot of runs, as Anthony Kay was not very okay here. 4 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. Take it deep twice as you had Danny Jansen get his 4th home run of the campaign, and Jake Berger, 23rd. A little bit later on, Justin Foscue off of Jordan Hicks' 9th home run of the season. Hicks gives up 3 runs in an inning. Brian Hudson, though, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Hagen Smith, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Grant Taylor gets the final out to be able to get the save, and for Jacob deGrom, gave up 6 runs in the first inning, 8 runs in total in 3 2/3 innings. Cole Winn, 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. Peyton Gray, well, it was feeling gray for him as he gave up a home run to Tristan Peters, the former Savannah Banana, 11th home run of the campaign. Jordan Montgomery, Tyler Alexander both give you a scoreless inning, but by then the damage had very much been done. And the Braves, they were able to do enough damage to get the win over the Dodgers. 4-3 the final. Tyler Gladstone, his first start off the injury list, 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, the bullpen was pretty solid. Alex Vesia, Jack Dreyer, and Evan Phillips combined for 2 shutout innings. Tanner Scott was not great. Scott, he gives up a run in an inning, and Bryce Elder, not looking elderly, but not looking great. 3 runs allowed in 6 innings, gave up 8 hits as the Dodgers left 11 men on base. Dylan Lee, scoreless inning. Victor Medeiros, Dylan Dodd, they combined for a scoreless inning, and Racio Iglesias, scoreless inning to be able to get that one in. Also being able to get this one in, you saw a quality 4-1 win for the Detroit Tigers as they had a 5-plus game losing streak, and Jackson Jobe, not a lot of length here, but he did his job. 4 1/3 innings, gives up a run. From there, Drew Summers, 5 outs out of the bullpen scores. Jacob Aggies pack, Tyler Holton, Kenley Jansen all on the scoreless inning, and Casey Lugumina, 2 1/3 innings scoreless as the opener. Ian Seymour, the bulk guy, 4 runs, 3 of which were in, including a home run to Max Clark, his 2nd home run of the campaign. Haven't been able to say this very often. The Athletics are able to get a win on Tuesday as they get the job done by a count of 4-2 against the Minnesota Twins. For the Twins, Taj Juncal and Milton Bradley was not playing games with the strikeouts, had 11 strikeouts, but gave up 4 runs in 6 2/3 innings as Carlos Cortez gets his 8th home run of the campaign. Flip side, Gage Jump, 2 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings. Hogan Harris was a hero, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Luis Medina, Elvis Alvarado in the building for a squirreless inning. AJ Minter, 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels for the Minnesota Twins. For the Seattle Mariners, they hold down the Philadelphia Phillies by a count of 4-1 as George Kirby, 7 2/3 innings, he allows a run. Jose Ferrer out of the bullpen squirrels, and then Andres Munoz, a scoreless 9th inning. Meanwhile, Aaron Nola, he wasn't too bad in this one. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. He does give up a home run to Cal Raleigh. Big dumper, 18th home run of the season, and his 4th of the series. Orion Kirkring, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 inning. Brooks Raley, he does not go off the rail. He's an out of the bullpen squirrels, and Jonathan Bolin, scoreless inning, but too little too late out there. For the Padres, the offense has really been able to get going since the All-Star break. Not the case here on Tuesday, though. 1-0, they get shut out by the Pirates as Paul Skeens looked a little bit more like his normal self. Not a lot of strikeouts, 4 punch-outs, but 6 shutout innings. Camilo Duvall, Gregory Soto, Mason Montgomery, all on his scoreless inning, and Michael King was the king of give you 7 shutout innings. Audrey Montahona, scoreless inning, Mason Miller, rare loss. He gives up a home run to Oniel Cruz, 17th home run of the campaign. That was with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and that was the lone run of the game. The Giants hold down the Cincinnati Reds. They were on to a 3-1 win as for Adrian Hauser, he was the opener in this game. 1 2/3 inning scoreless. From there, 4 1/3 inning scoreless from Anthony Molina. Sam Entages, along Trent Harris and Carson Seymour. They all give you an inning as Seymour does give up a home run in his inning work lone run of the game for the Reds as cousin Sal Stewart, 28th home run of the campaign, and Brady Singer was stinging the Blues. 3 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings, taken deep by Rafael Devers, 28th home run of the campaign. Sam Moll, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. DJ Antone, he was able to give you 5 outs scoreless, and then this was one that went the way of the Arizona Diamondbacks, 5-4. They take down the Chicago Cubs as Clay Holmes, 7 shutout innings. Brandon Pfaadt battled his way through 6 2/3 innings, gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run to Ian Happ. He was on Apple's 23rd home run of the campaign, but the bullpen bails him out. Dennis Santana 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and then you had Justin Martinez give you a scoreless inning, and Daniel Palencia, 2/3 of an inning. He gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned. Jacob Webb, he gives up 2 runs in his inning work as it was Ryan Waldschmidt, walk-off home run in the 9th inning, his third of the campaign. That gets the Diamondbacks to the window, and do I have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern, as the Cleveland Guardians are working their way through the LA Angels, 8-6. It looks like this game is gonna go final any second after 10 innings, and Gavin Williams, boy, he got lit up in this game. 5 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings, taken deep by Trent Grisham, his 8th home run of the campaign, and then Christian Moore gives you more, his first home run of the season, and then Grisham a little bit later on off of Logan Allen, 9th home run season. For Allen, he goes 3 innings, and he gives up 1 run along the way. Matt Fissa, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Craig Yoho, 8 scoreless inning. Called Olderman, Eric Sobrowski, scoreless 8th and 9th innings, and then Cade Smith holds it down in the 10th. Meanwhile, for Wild Bay Yarena, he was not long for this game either. 3 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings, walked 5. From there, Jose Fermin, 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. Tyler Sacato, he comes in for 2 shutout innings. Ryan Watson gives up a run in an inning. Ben Joyce, Blake Wyman both come in for an inning. Wyman in the 10th inning, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has all of a sudden become a very underwhelming season as the under rate 51.2-ish%, 947 overs, 993 unders, and if math serves me correct, we've had about 48 pushes along the way, and favorites on the money line hitting at about 56.5%. 1,090 and 842, and among those favorites, we have now seen a grand total of 278 failed to cover the run line over the last 30 days. Favorites are earning at about 58%, 229 and 166 on the money line. Meanwhile, we have seen 71 of those favorites fail to cover the run line. The under rate is right around about 54.4%, 180 overs, 214 unders, and we've seen 10 pushes along the way. Last 7 days, the under rate is right around about 57 to 58%, 39 overs to 53 unders with a push along the way. Favorites on the money line hitting at about 63%, 56 and 33, with 18 of those favorites failing to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the BC Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Dylan Rockford aboard, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. He does a great job with the fight game over on Axe Kicks Picks. I know that he's very involved with taking a look at just a little bit of everything sports-wise, and he does such a great job with regards to football front as well, and sooner rather than later, that's going to be back in our lives as well. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Rock with 2Ks, the number 24 altogether. And Dylan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg. Good always to be with you.
Always good to have you aboard. And Dylan, before we take a look at these games that we've got for Wednesday, how do we take a look at these playoff races where, boy, it is just a total mess with regards to the National League wild card, which, I mean, at the very least, you've got winning teams, so it's a good sort of mess. And then in the American League, well, we might have multiple teams below 500 make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, other than maybe Minnesota, Toronto, who I really don't like. You got some teams that are only a half a game or 2 games out. Meanwhile, I feel like there's so much more parity with the American League as opposed to the National League, because obviously you got the Brewers, the Dodgers, the Braves, Cubs, Phillies are doing well. Obviously the Padres are good. Outside of that, it's up in the air. And for the American League, you know, you just have those. I would say it's about a 4-horse race in the American League between Tampa, the Red Sox, and the Yankees, honestly. And then other than that, it's a bunch of 500 teams. I know White Sox and the Rangers are in first place right now, but Cleveland's playing much better. They've won 5 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Houston, they have the experience, but they've lost 2 in a row. They're not good at home for whatever reason. There's a lot to go with, but obviously the AL is much more exciting than the NL.
Yep, it certainly is for all the wrong reasons.
For all the wrong reasons, exactly.
We've got a lot of mediocrity out there in the American League, and if you squint and you tilt your head, the Royals are not out of a playoff spot. We don't know how they did on Tuesday as we're recording this, but they entered winning 8 straight games. Is that the sort of team that might be worth taking a look at right now? Or is that just a little bit of a flash in the pan, in your opinion?
It's like the saying that my grandpa used to tell me, better late than never. And they're playing the best baseball they've played all season. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they are playing really good baseball. They're only 8 games back. And I know I say only with a grain of salt, but like you said, they're 9-1 their last 10. At home, they're actually above 500. At home, I don't mind them. Offense has woken up a little bit. Pitching has been good. So, yes, they're not the worst team like the Halos or the Athletics or the Rockies, but they are competing, and you like to see it. So, yeah, I think they're a fun team. And honestly, I've been profiting off them the last few days anyway.
And would you want to be taking a shot on them on Wednesday? Because what I think that you mentioned there is so important. They're a good team at home. This win streak has mostly come at home, and now it is going to be Shane Bieber, who's got a fever for trying to get outs. He's going to be going for them, and Randy Dobnak, which I have no idea how he's got a sub-2 ERA. Guy is getting less than 6 strikeouts and nearly 4 walks per 9 innings. And right now with the Blue Jays, they're a pretty modest-sized favorite right now, and I feel like this could be where things start to run dry a little bit more here for the Royals.
Look good. Offense has come alive. I'm not a fan of Shane Bieber. I'm really not. I know at home he is a little better, but I don't trust the consistency of the Blue Jays as of right now. And I just think he might be catching the Royals in a bad spot. I like Randy Dobnak, honestly. I know it's a small sample size, but in 3 road starts, he hasn't allowed a run in 15 2/3 inning. He's been good. I'm looking at an under as well, just maybe a Blue Jays team total. It's dog or pass for me. I made the Blue Jays a favorite, Greg, but I only made them a -145 favorite. So I can't be back in the Blue Jays here at this price. So it's dog or pass, and I do like the under.
Yeah, and interestingly, as we're recording this, looks like Shane Bieber is going to be going on the injury list. So he might be getting a bullpen game. So
even worse, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to say the least. We'll say Simeon Woods Richardson has actually been good coming out of the bullpen for the Blue Jays, but they might need him to start this game. So we shall see what is going to be happening on that front. So thought we were going to be getting Shane Bieber. We will not be fading Shane Bieber on Wednesday for one reason or another.
It was nice while it lasted.
Yeah, it certainly was. But this is a fade that I think that you can get behind. Freddie Peralta for your New York Mets was not good this year. Right now, he's about even money against the Tigers, and it's been a struggle for the Tigers. Entered into Tuesday having lost 5 straight games, and I don't think Troy Melton continues a sub-2 ERA, total of 8. Want to get your thoughts here because I think this is a good spot for the over, and I just need to see it to believe it from Freddie Peralta because he has been awful for multiple months in a row now.
100%. If the Tigers are going to win a game, it might be this one. I did make the Tigers a short favorite here at home, around a -110, -111. So -115, it is a little above my number, but I don't mind that. Maybe first 5, eliminate the bullpens. But Freddie Peralta's been terrible. I mean, he's been terrible since coming over. He's been terrible with the Mets. Troy Millen, though, on the other hand, awesome. I mean, the guy has been nails for Detroit. They just can't get him any run support. I feel really bad for him. I think he's been really good. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs at home since June 9th. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I set my total at 7.4. So I see some 8s out there. I would take an under on that. It's going to be a low-scoring game, I think. Cloudy afternoon. Winds are blowing into Detroit around 1 in the afternoon. Like I said, I'm going to be on the Tigers' first 5, and I probably would take an under 8 as well.
Yeah, with Freddie Peralta, man, it has just not been good, to say the least. And I mentioned it, he was a part of your Mets towards the beginning part of the season, and do you think there's a chance that the Mets might be playing spoiler? Because I think Tuesday might be a little bit tough with Robert Stock. I don't have a lot of faith in him, even with the Brewers right around -155 or so. But I've noticed this team without Juan Soto, the offense has looked a little bit better. Someone like a Zach Thornton who went on Tuesday. I feel like it's a Mets team that has a lot of young guys looking to prove themselves. And every year we see some of these teams play their best baseball when they're completely out of it. And that could be the Mets this season.
Yeah, as soon as the trade deadline passed, the Mets just started playing some competitive baseball. I don't mind an under 8.5 in this one. My total came out to 8.1. I said it last week on the MLB Gambling Podcast. I'm a fan of Robert Stock. Honestly, only one poor start. It was on the road at Citi Field. He's been solid. Again, small sample size, but all three of his starts at home, great. They all went under this number. And I know a lot of people don't like Dustin May coming over from St. Louis, but I think he's been fine. Last start wasn't the best, but the Mets offense has regressed. I think they scored one run the other last night. And last time Dustin May faced the Mets earlier in the season, he pitched 6 scoreless innings, only 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So he has a good familiarity with this New York team. I think we see a lower scoring game. So minus 153, I think, is a little bit. I only made the Brewers a minus 145 favorite, so I do think they should be the favorite. It'd probably be dog at this point. I see a plus 145 with the Mets. I think it's getting to a point where I think some value is getting on the home dog, but I like the under, if anything.
Yeah, this is a number that's getting very inflated on the Milwaukee Brewers, so that one is going to be a fun one to say the least, as our good friend and Dylan Rockford is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and this I think is going to be interesting. Phillies versus the Mariners, because the Mariners 2-0 when they're coming off of a loss of 17 plus runs, so yay, barely there, and Brian Wu is going to be going for the Mariners, where he's been great at home. On the road, he has been absolutely terrible, but he's been great at home. Right now, the Mariners are about plus 105, plus 115, total is 7. Want to get your thoughts here, because also Jesus Luzardo has been significantly better away from home rather than at home himself.
Yeah, besides the Braves and the Dodgers, I think this might be the game or the matchup of the night here for Wednesday. I like a first 5 under. You mentioned it. On the road, I want nothing to do with Brandon Wu. At home, he's been fantastic. 7-0, 196 ERA. Batters hitting a $164 off of him. He's only allowed more than 2 runs at home one time this year. The under is hit in 70% of his home starts. And Jesus Luzardo, you mentioned it. He's been better on the road too. 7-0 with a 195 ERA. I get it. Both offenses has looked much better as of late. Over the weekend, the Phillies offense against St. Louis was really good. Seattle, they just smoked them. They really crushed Zach Wheeler. That was very surprising, especially this offense too. So I know both offenses has been hot of late, but with these two on the bump with Wu and Luzardo, I think we see another low-scoring game, especially the first time around these lineups. So, yeah, I'm on the first 5 under.
Yep, I think that that's a solid look, because both of these starters have been good, and both these bullpens, they have not been very good since the beginning of the month of July as well. So that takes them out of it as well. And then you mentioned it, perhaps the game of the day is going to be the Dodgers against the Braves, who are the top teams out there in the National League. It's A.J. Smith-Schwaber, third start of the season for him against Roki Sasaki, and Dodgers minus 125 to minus 130 favorites. Want to get your thoughts here, because for Smith-Schwaber, we just haven't seen a lot out of him thus far this season, and I will say Roki Sasaki has really put it together since the All-Star break.
Oh, 100%. And I know I guess the common theme or narrative behind Sasaki is to fade him, especially on the road. But I took a minus 121 earlier in the day with the Dodgers. I already locked it in. I made him over a minus 140 favorite. Last 7-8 starts, he has been solid. Dodgers are 6-2 straight up in his last 8 starts. And I know, again, it's a small sample size with AJ, but I really haven't liked what I've seen out of him. He got smoked by Minnesota in his last starts. Walks are also a problem for him. I like the Dodgers team total over. I think this is a terrible spot for Atlanta. They have really regressed these last few weeks here. So, and it doesn't get easier. The schedule gets harder for them as well. So I'm all over the Dodgers. I think we're getting a really discounted price here.
Yep, I am right there with you, and this is a great card that we've got on this Wednesday, as we've got all 30 teams in action, a few TBDs, we've got some great games, we've got some games of indifference, I think is probably the most polite way of putting it. So anything else that's really setting out to you?
Yeah, the only thing, I was looking towards an over 8.5 here with the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. Matthew Boyd has not looked good. Both teams really rake against left-handed pitchers, so I was looking towards that. I like the Guardians as well. I know I mentioned them a little earlier in the episode. They've won 5 in a row, 7-3 in their last 10. I think Joey Cantillo, he's been great the last month or so. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs in 5 straight games. Walks are an issue, but the Halos aren't really a team that walk a ton. I think they're in they're in quit mode, I think, at this point in the season. Grayson Rodriguez stinks, 8.82 ERA as well, and they've lost 7 of his 8 home starts this season. So yeah, I think the Guardians keep it rolling here in this spot.
Yeah, it's a Angels team that is also last in the league in terms of
Yeah.
scoring at home this year as well. So that's been a little bit rough. You mentioned it with the walks issue with Cantillo. Well, the Angels will swing at anything. So that'll help them out big time. And we always get a swing and a grand slam when you're aboard, my friend Dylan. You're doing such great work over there at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Doing a great job in the fight game, doing a great job looking at football and so much more. So let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, you guys can follow me over on Twitter/X at Rock with 2Ks24. It's a big weekend. Be down in Miami covering bare knuckle boxing, Greg. 58 down into 305. So that should be very interesting. UFC continues with Macau. So early start time. We also have week 0. Football is here, Greg. I can't wait. We got some friends over on SGPN coming out to Circa this weekend as well. So I wish I could make it over, but eventually, one day I will make it over, Greg. I promise you.
I absolutely love it. I don't want to be partaking in bare knuckle boxing personally. I think that might be a little bit rough. I need to protect my face if at all possible. That is very, very intense to say the least, but our man Dylan, he does a great job covering it. He is not one of the people that partakes in bare knuckle boxing, but does a great job of covering it, and every single time he joins me, learns such great insight. So a big thanks to Dylan for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by Dylan Rockford, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Dylan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games also in time order. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So without further ado, let's dive in. This is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. It is the Cubs, and they're going to be on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks as Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Snakes, and Matthew Boyd is on the bump for the Cubs. And the Cubs do find themselves as very slim underdogs in a lot of cases, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 108. Meanwhile, between minus 105 to minus 112, the number on Arizona 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And I'm going to be willing to go with the over. I did set my total here at a 8.9. For Eduardo Rodriguez, he has been pitching to a lot of contact and has been one of the more lucky pitchers in all of baseball this year. A 2.61 ERA, but closer to a 3.79 fielding dependent. Has worked on the walks a little bit, down to about 2.8 walks per 9 innings, but only 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, has done a nice job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard, 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, but getting those 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings is low. And for Matthew Boyd overall for the season, it's more around about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but since coming off the injury list, he's hovering right around about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings as well. So he's another guy that might be doing for a little bit of regression as well, especially if you take a look at things ever since he's come off the injury list. He's been getting far fewer strikeouts, but yet his ERA has went down as well, which is something that I find to be very fascinating, to say the least. For Matthew Boyd, he has seen a little bit of regression here, giving up 4+ runs and now 3 out of his last 4 games, so we will see if that continues moving forward. But ever since he came out the injury list on June 25th, he has a 3.49 ERA, he had a 5.52 fielding dependent, and in that time span, he has been giving up about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. And while the Arizona Diamondbacks are without Ketel Marte, they still do have Corbin Carroll along with Nolan Arenado. Both of these guys entering into this series a combined 39 home runs. And Carroll's been able to give you about a 340 on base. And it's a Diamondbacks team averaging over 5 runs per game ever since the All-Star break and averaging more runs per game without Marte than they were with them. You've had Gabriel Moreno move the line inning above a 300. Jordan Lawler has come back. He's been able to about a 280. You're going to need more out of some of these mix and match guys. Max Kepler, Lars Nootbaar are veterans that haven't done a lot for the team. Meanwhile, for the Cubs, they are number 1 in all baseball in terms of run creation. Pico Armstrong, 33 bombs, 375 on base, but have a lot of guys that they may not hit for a lot of average, but they find a way on. Ian Happ, 22 home runs, only hitting a 220 going into yesterday, but over a 320 on base. Michael Busch hitting a 243, but close to a 350 on base. A Suzuki hitting a 270 with 22 home runs, not as extreme, but like a 355, 360 on base. Alex Bregman, another one of those guys as well. And for the Cubs, this is a bullpen that's still a little bit, shall we say, banged up, but they do get back Daniel Palencia. That's big. You're still dealing with some of these guys like a Hobie Milner on the injury list, but Ryan Rolson, Trent Thornton, Jacob Webb, these have been guys that have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, CFAing Paul Sewald was definitely the right move for them. You've got these guys like a Juan Murillo, Gerald Carrillo, Taylor Clark, even someone like Braden Garcia give you a sub-325 ERA. Even Kevin Ginkel's been relatively okay for this bullpen, but I do think that both of these starters give up some runs, so I did set my total here at an 8.9, and with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I'm going to be willing to back them on the money line. I set this at a minus 106, so don't really want to go past minus 105, but in on the stakes and in on the over. 953, 954 on the card. It is the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati, onto the road against the San Francisco Giants as Landon Roop. He is going to be going for the Giants, and you've got Nick Lodolo on the Lodo for the Reds. Reds do find themselves in a relative pick'em game. Slight underdog here between even money to minus 106, minus 110 to minus 115 for San Francisco. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8. Unders minus 115, overs minus 105 on the 7.5, overs minus 120, unders even, and I am mostly seeing 8s out there, and I'm in on that 8 to the under. I really think that Landon Roop is a better pitcher than what the numbers have shown. Now, it's been a shaky season from no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but I mean, 4.34 ERA, 3.66 fielding independent, only allowing 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. The walks have been an issue. He has been giving up about 4.3 walks per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff, it's not great. It's not terrible. About 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. And on the other end of things, for Nick Lodolo, he has been a little bit better recently. 2 runs for fear allowed in 3 out of his last 5 starts, but last start out, he gave up a 6 spot against the Arizona Diamondbacks, 5.04 ERA, giving up 1.6 home runs, 3.7 walks per 9 innings, and the swing and miss stuff is a career low, less than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and when he has been away from home this season, that ERA has gone up to a 5.59 with 7 home runs allowed in 29 innings. Not great. Now, for the San Francisco Giants, they are dealing with a lot of injuries. You've got Rafael Devers, who is actually starting to live up to that money a little bit. Way too little, way too late, but hey, he's been able to give you 24 plus home runs. He's hitting closer about a 245. Lone guy in the starting lineup yesterday with a double-figure amount of homers. As a matter of fact, only 2 other players, Drew Gilbert and Rafael Devers, with more than 2 home runs this season. They are very much going with a lot of young guys. Like, they're hoping that Shea Whitcomb, a former prospect of the Astros, is going to be able to pan out. They've got all sorts of guys like Willie Adames and company that are banged up, and Bryce Eldridge is on the bereavement list, so that's a bit of an issue. And for the Cincinnati Reds, even though they're a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation, 3 guys have been able to give you at least 21 home runs this year. Ellie De La Cruz and J.J. Bleday, approximately 21 home runs going into yesterday. Bleday only a 220, but more like a 330 on base. De La Cruz over 350 on base, 22 stolen bags, and then cousin Sal Stewart hitting a 265 with 27 home runs. What's killing this team is the bottom of the full. Cabrian Hayes, Matt McClain, TJ Friedel, guys like this hitting below a 215. Throwing their Eugenio Suarez, Hector Rodriguez as well. And for the Reds, this is just not a good bullpen right now. You've had Brock and Roll Burke along with TJ Antone give you a sub-350 ERA, and they are getting back Tony Santillan, but he's at a north of 5 ERA this season. Emilio Gans, that's coming off the injury list, hasn't been bad, but someone like a Chase Petty, I really don't have a lot of faith in. These mix and match long guys just have not been able to do a good job. And hey, when it comes to the San Francisco Giants, they are dealing with Keaton Winn and JJ Brubaker being on the injury list. You've been able to have some of these guys be able to step up, like a Dylan Smith has been able to give you a sub-350 ERA, but Ian Revere, say Martin, along Carson Seymour, these have been guys that that have been very much struggling with over a 4.50 ERA, so it makes it a very interesting circumstance. I do think that with how banged up the Giants are, you are going to be able to get an under, and with this being a pitcher-friendly ballpark, I do think that it lends to that under, and additionally, I think that the Giants just get a good start here out of Landon Group to be able to get the job done, so I'm going to be in on them on the money line. I did set the Giants here at a minus 128, and like that under, somebody told 7.7, 955, 956 on the card. It is the Slam Diego Padres, and they're going to be playing us the Pittsburgh Pirates. We do know that Bubba Chandler is going to be on the bump for the Pirates, and this should be in some form or capacity Randy Vasquez. This is a game that's off the board, though, because right now he's not listed up as the starter, and this could be a case where they utilize an opener for him or something like that. But I mean, if we do indeed get what we're getting right now with a total of 8.5 over and under, both at minus 110, minus 126, the Padres being a favorite, plus 108 on these Pittsburgh Pirates, I'm going to be willing to back the Padres, as I did set them here at a minus 132 for Randy Vasquez. He's very much pitching to a lot of contact right now, but he has been highly effective for this team, and while he gives up a little bit of hard contact, it's not a ton. 1.1 home runs, 2.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. Again, he's only getting about 5.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's done a nice job holding down the 4 2-earned runs or fewer given up in 4 out of his last 5 starts. Meanwhile, you've been able to get some relatively good production as well out of Bubba Chandler recently, as Chandler is certainly at his walks issues. He's giving up about 4.5 walks per 9 innings, but he's been able to round in a good form as well. He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer, and now all but 3 out of his last 12 starts overall for the season, posting up a 4.38 ERA, but a 4.13 fielding dependent because he keeps the ball in the yard himself. He's getting only about 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, but it's giving up 0.8 home runs per 9, and when it comes to Bubba Chandler, when he has been away from him, he has been giving up a little bit more contact with about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, but it's now in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Now for the Padres, over 5 runs per game ever since the All-Star break. Fernando Tatis Jr., he had 5 home runs prior to the All-Star break, 12 ever since then. Jackson Merrill sitting well above a 325 since the All-Star break. You've got Ty France, who's now hitting just a hair below a 300. He's been able to give you 18 home runs, still lacking a lot of average out of the likes of Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts, but hey, for Machado, he's up to 24 home runs as well, and Pirates continue to be a top 6 team in terms of run creation. O'Neal Cruz, he's been able to give you a pair of bombs since coming off the injury list about a week or so ago. Spencer Horwitz still a 360 plus on base. Brian Reynolds above a 360 on base. Nick Gonzalez sitting at 300. Jake Magnum been a little bit in and out of the lineup, but he was back in there yesterday, so that helps out. And for the Pirates, they did revamp this bullpen at the trade deadline, getting in there Luke Weaver, Kirby Yates, and they were very rock solid in that win on Monday. Still do have some trepidation with them. They're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of opening area, and for the San Diego Padres, they've been a top 6 bullpen all season long. These guys like Yuki Matsui, Bradley Rodriguez, Wandy Peralta, Audrey Motojon, Mason Miller, they're all give you a sub 340 ERA. So I do think that that's going to hold up in this spot, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be willing to back the Padres on the money line. I did set them at a minus 132, and I trust in this under. I did somebody told here at an 8.3. 957, 958 on the card. It's the Nationals. They're going to be playing us the Colorado Rockies. Tanner Gordon is on the bump for the Colorado Rockies, and then we've got the MLB debut of Luis Perales, who right now the Nationals are minus 120 to minus 130 favorites, about even money to plus 115. That number on Colorado 9 is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even, and I'm going to be willing to roll with the Washington Nationals here. I'm willing to go up to a minus 135 with them. Now for Perales, he has spent the entire season at the AAA level, 364 ERA. He does have a walks issue with about 5 walks per 9 innings, but about 9 punch-outs per 9. He's by trade a starter. I would not doubt it if we see Will Dion, who's been a very good long guy for the Nationals as well. Overall for his season, sub 325 ERA, began his season with the Cleveland Guardians, and he's been getting over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, so I'm fully expecting that 1-2 punch to be happening here, and that's big because for the Washington Nationals, bullpen has not been great this far this season. You've got the bottom 2 bullpens in the National League in terms of ERA on both sides. Like for the Colorado Rockies, the likes of Jaden Hill, Juan Mejia, throw in there Jimmy Herget, so many guys with a 5+ ERA. They trade away some of their pieces at the trade deadline. And I mean, you've been able to get some relatively okay production on Jordan Romano in a Rockies uniform, but you know that sooner or later that's going to be going down the toilet bowl. Meanwhile, for the Nationals, Jake Bird, Max Kranick, these guys are posting up all above a 450 ERA. Tom Cosgrove has not been too bad, and for the Nationals, without question, this is a little bit of a banged up lineup, but now you've got CJ Abrams back, who's been able to give you 29 plus home runs. Dylan Cruz just has never really developed at the big league level, but Dallin Lyle, 16 plus home runs, it's about a 250. Nasim Nunez, 40 plus stolen bases, and for the Colorado Rockies, they're dealing with the injury to Hunter Goodman, but he did return yesterday. We'll have to see if he's going to be fully 100%, but over 30 home runs for him thus far this season. And then you've got guys that are able to move the line, like Willie Castro, 13 plus bombs. He's been able to give you a 330 on base. Jake McCarthy, along with with TJ Romfield hitting above 285. Troy Johnson has made a move line. Mickey Moniak is up to 20 home runs as well. And for Tanner Gordon, there's just not a lot of faith to be had with him as a starting pitcher in this role. He has been posting up over a 6 ERA. He's been a little bit more effective out of the bullpen, but either way, it's been bad. 5.75 ERA, 4.79 fielding dependent. Only gives up 1.8 walks per 9 innings, but pitches to a ton of contact. 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.9 home runs allowed per 9, and still have a national team in the top 3 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. So with the Nationals, set them at minus 136, one to left to a minus 135 on the money line. Made my total 9.2, so on the 9, I like the over. 9.59, 9.60 on the card. It is the Brewers, and they are going to be on the road facing off against the New York Mets. Do we put stock in Robert Stock as he is getting the start for the Mets? And Dustin May hopes that it's May Day for the Metropolitans between plus 130 to plus 143. That number on the Mets. For the Brewers, between minus 153 to minus 163 as that number. And if you're looking to lay a run half with the Brewers, and between plus 110 to plus 114 to lay a run half. Total on scheme between 8 to 8.5. On the 8, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 8.5, under is minus 120. And the over, that is even money. And I'm willing to take the Brewers laying a run half. I did set this at a plus 111, so plus 112 or better. That does put me in on that. For Robert Stock, I just have a very difficult time trusting in a 35, 36-year-old pitcher that is finally getting like a cup of coffee at the big league level throughout his career. Has always had relatively good swing and miss stuff and really doesn't get taken deep or anything like that, but the walks are a big giant issue with him. Did light the world on fire at the AAA level a little bit earlier this season, but right now he's given up 5.9 walks per 9 innings, getting those 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but for his career, 5.4 walks per 9. And for Dustin May, I really do think that he's pitched better than what the ERA would indicate, a 4.57 ERA, but closer to a 3.36 fielding dependent, only giving up about 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. He's getting 8.5 punch-outs per 9 innings as well, and he's backed up by a Brewers bullpen that is right there in the top 2 in the National League in terms of ERA. Now, they're dealing with an injury to Abner Uribe, who's on the injury list. That's going to be hurting them a little bit, but Trevor McGill has been one of the most lockdown closers in the National League here recently. Antonio Sensatella, sub 3.55 ERA, and Aaron Ashby has been rock solid for the team. And then they've done a nice job mixing and matching with some like a DL Turnetta Paul, Chad Patrick, being good long guys as well. For the Brewers, they continue to be a top 6 team in the big leagues in terms of run creation, despite being last in the league in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis. Jake Bauers, 23 home runs. He leads away for the team, but Garrett Mitchell gives you a 360 on base. Bryce Terang, Jackson Trio above a 340 on base. Both give you 15-plus home runs. William Contreras is hitting about a 270. And then for the Mets, when Juan Soto went down with an injury, they were averaging about 4.05 runs per game. Ever since he's went down, they've been averaging closer to 4.6 runs per game. Even Luis Rivera had a few home runs over the weekend. Now, these guys like Marcus Semien, Eric Wagaman, you just have some guys that are just dead bats right now, but I mean, you've had Francisco Lindor pick it up. He's up to about a 325 on base. Carson Bench, along with Bo Bichette, they're both hitting above a 265. Both have been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. Do have to have some trepidations with this Mets bullpen, as you've been having a little bit of up and down with having Nate Lavender be a really good, shall we say, young gun, but Jeffrey Yan, he's been a little bit shaky. Kodai Senga just has not had a great year in general, and I do think that the Brewers are good to be able to get to, in this case, Robert Stock, and then I think that they get into the bullpen, so I'm going to be willing to lay a run half with the Brewers on the run line. And with this total, I did set mine here at a 8.4, so on the 8, I'm going to be in on the over. 961, 962 on the card. The Dodgers are going to be on the road facing off against the Braves, as AJ Smith-Shawver is on the bump for the Braves, and Roki Sasaki is on the bump for the Dodgers. And the Dodgers are between minus 125 to minus 130 favorites. With the Bravos, you're going to be catching them between plus 108 to a plus 115. 8.5 is the total in most spots. Over at a minus 120 to a minus 125. Under between even and plus 105. Seeing a straight 9. Under is minus 120. Over is even, and I am going to be in on the over. I did set my total at 9.3. For AJ Smith-Shawver, I just have a little bit of question mark with this being his third start of the season. Hasn't looked bad, hasn't looked amazing when he's been at the big league level in the past. He's only got 8 2/3 innings thus far this season, so he's got a 6.23 ERA. I'm not going to read too much into that. You look at more of that sample size that he had a season ago in 9 starts when he had a 3.86 ERA. He was giving up 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings and 4.3 walks per 9 innings, and that's relatively what he did in 2024 in his small sample size there as well. So I think that that's a little bit more of what we can expect. And you've got a Dodgers lineup that has been averaging about 5.6 runs per game away from home. That's number one on all of baseball, and that's more than a full run per game more than they average at home. They got Bryce Elder yesterday. You've got Shohei Ohtani right now, give you over 30 home runs, 385-ish on base. But Freddie Freeman, 15 home runs, hitting at 300. Tommy Edman has been able to move the line. Max Muncy, about a 340 to a 350 on base. And then Alex Call's another guy that can move the line. They are dealing with a few ailments, like Teoscar Hernandez has been in and out of the fold. But still, you've been able to get good production as well out of Andy Paz when he's been out there. Still need Kyle Tucker to pick it up. Flip side for the Atlanta Braves, they were able to get their offense going against Tyler Glasnow yesterday. Still a top 8 team in terms of run creation, as you got these guys like Michael Harris, Drake Baldwin, Ozzie Albies, all between 20 and 21 home runs. In the case of Harris, hitting just hair below a 300. Matt Olson, he gives you about a 335 on base, but 35 plus home runs. Need Austin Riley, Mike Yastrzemski to pick it up at the bottom of the fold. And for the Dodgers, neither here nor there with their bullpen. They're about a league average team in terms of ERA. They're getting Evan Phillips and Brock and Roll Stewart off the injury list. Phillips has an over 4 ERA, but that should improve. Jack Dreher, Tanner Scott, Alex Vesia, these are guys give you a sub 325 ERA. Flip side for the Atlanta Braves, they've been one of the best bullpens in all of baseball this year with the Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, along with DDA Fuentes, Raisel Iglesias, all being able to supply a sub 350 ERA. When Tyler Kinley's been out there, he's been a little bit of an issue, but I know that he's been dealing with some injuries, so now they're looking at Ray Kerr to be able to hold down the fort. Victor Medeiros has been okay, but I just really don't trust in Smith Schwaber, and I do think that Roki Sasaki might see a little bit of regression from his good second half, but he has been a completely different pitcher here recently. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 6 starts, 3 runs or fewer in each out of his last 7. Overall for the season, he's getting about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but is giving up the 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, and has been a little bit of a different pitcher when he's been away from home. So, do you think they get some scoring like the over, so by total 9.3? I'm trusted in the Dodgers. Set them at a minus 137. 963, 964 on the card. The Tigers are going to be playing us to the Rays, as Freddie Peralta goes for the Rays, and Troy Melton is on the bump for the Tigers. The total on this game, it is 8, and right now we're seeing that underjuice anywhere between minus 110 to minus 120, overs anywhere between even a minus 110, and right now the Tigers very slim favorites between minus 115 to minus 120, even money to plus 105. That's your number on Tampa Bay. I just can't trust him, Freddie Peralta. I said the Tigers had a minus 147. Now, Troy Melton is overdue for regression. You take a look at that ERA at a 160, and it's just not sustainable. The fielding independent right now is more in the neighborhood of a 384, 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's giving up 1 home run per 9. I have no idea how he's doing it, but I mean, for Freddie Peralta, I am much more inclined to fade him. Career low 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.5 home runs, 3.6 walks allowed per 9 innings as far as the season, but in his last 11 starts, he's gotten a total of 52 innings, 50 total runs, 44 of which earned, with 12 home runs allowed in that time span. He has been downright awful. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, they now have to face off against the Tigers lineup that, since the All-Star break, is averaging about 5.15 runs per game. Now that they've been a little bit cooler here over the last few days, but Gleyber Torres, along with Javi Baez coming back, that's taken out these guys like a Matt Vierling, along with James Outman. They DFA'd Jake Rogers, so a lot of these dead bats, they're now out of the fold, and you've actually been able to get some good production as well out of Eduardo Valencia. Not going to draw a lot of walks, but he's been hitting above a 300. Kevin McGonigal, 380 on base. For Spencer Torkelson, you need a little bit better than the 225 average, but 20 plus home runs. Max Clark, the young gun, he was able to go deep yesterday, and on the flip side for the Rays, have a trio of guys that have really carried the mail for the team. Jonathan Aranda, 16 bombs with a 360 on base. Andy Diaz, 19 bombs, 375 on base. Junior Caminero, well over 30 home runs. He's hitting at 280. And then you pick up Liam Hicks at the trade deadline. At the catcher spot, he gives you a 370 on base with good power. Chandler Simpson, over 25, actually over 30 stolen bases thus far this season. And for the Rays, bullpen has been able to sort itself out a little bit more here recently. Like some Cam Boozer, Brian Baker, Kevin Kelly, maybe they're able to give you a sub 3 ERA. They're getting Manuel Rodriguez off the injury list, but Tyler Wells, Garrett Clevenger, these guys have had their issues. And for the Detroit Tigers, you look since July 1st, and this has been a relatively solid bullpen. They've been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Tyler Holton has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. You're getting good production out of Jacob Aguirre's back as a long guy as well. You are starting to see a little bit of shakiness out of Kyle Finnegan, and you still have to have fears with Kenley Jansen, but I think that the Tigers get the job done here. Set them at a minus 147, like the money line, and the over, somebody told it at 8.6. 965, 966 on the card. It is the Guardians, and they are going to be on the road against the Angels, as It is Grayson Rodriguez who's going to be going for the Halos, and you've got Joey Cantillo. He's going to be getting the start for the Cleveland Guardians. Guardians do find themselves as a pretty good-sized favorite here. You're going to be laying with them between minus 135 to a minus 145, and between plus 115 to a plus 125 is that number on the Angels, seeing a plus 130 as well. 9 is the total, over and under between minus 105 to a minus 115. I'm in on the Guardians. I set them at a minus 144. Now, Grayson Rodriguez has actually been quite a bit better here recently. He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 starts, and he's a power pitcher that at the beginning part of the season had absolutely no power stuff whatsoever, and he's still not back to where he was when he was with the Orioles, getting 10 plus strikeouts per 9 innings, but still, he's posted up 5 plus strikeouts in each out of his last 5 starts, and a pair of those starts he only went 4 innings, so a little bit of trepidation there, but I mean, he's been doing a better job here recently, being able to get that fielding independent down to a 480, so giving up 1.4 home runs, 4.1 walks per 9 innings, and for Joe Adell and Nathaniel Lowe, they've been able to revamp this Cleveland Guardians lineup a little bit. Both are giving you 14 plus home runs to about a team that really has not had a lot of power thus far this season. But I mean, still, even with those guys in the fold, it is a Cleveland Guardians team that does rank in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of run creation, just hair over 4 runs per game. But for the Angels, 3.55 runs per game at home going into yesterday. Dead stinking last in all baseball. Zach Neto and Mike Trout have been able to give you 20 plus home runs, and Trout, he only hits for like a 240 or so, but it's still giving you about a 370 on base. But I mean, outside those 2 guys, you got Josh Lowe's got 10 home runs, but he's got less than a 300 on base. You're kicking the tires on some of these just wash-up veterans, like a Christian Moore is now getting some run for this team. You've been trying to be able to get a little bit of something out of Jose Siri. He seems to be regressing a little bit. Moises Ballesteros has been useless for the team. Adam Frazier, he's got 1 home run and over 100 at-bats. And for the Cleveland Guardians, Stephen Kwan, second half of the season, well above a 425 on base. That's been solid. Travis Bazzana's maintaining like a 335 on base. Even P.D. Elpin's been able to give you a little bit more recently. It's still a rough lineup for this team, but I enjoyed L 20 plus home runs. That's solid. And for the Cleveland Guardians, they're in the top half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen area. We've had some ups and downs with Hunter Gaddis, Eric Sabrowski. Both are back below a sub 350 ERA. Colin Holderman was dealing with a little bit of an injury. He's back. Cade Smith has been one of the better closers in all of baseball. And to the surprise of many people, the Angels have actually been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA really since the beginning of the month of June, since they got rid of Alek Manoah. These guys like Jose Fermin, Ben Joyce, Luke Murphy have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA, but the Sammy Natera along Sam Bachman currently out of the fold. Ryan Watson is a presentable piece that they were able to get from the Boston Red Sox as well, and Joey Cantillo, he is posting up right around about a 373 ERA right now. The 4 plus walks per 9 innings are an issue, but Angels, second worst team in the American League in terms of walks per at-bats. They strike out the most of any American League team as well on a per at-bat basis, and Cantillo about 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Think that he shuts it down. Like the under, somebody told it at 8.3. And for the Guardians, want to lay up to a minus 143 on the money line. 967, 968 on the card. It's the Astros. They're going to be on the road against the New York Yankees, as we do know that Peter Lambert is going to be going for the Astros. Right now, this is listed as to be determined for the Yankees, so this game is completely off the board. Now, if it's Cam Schlittler going for the Yankees, which I was seeing on Fangraphs, I'd be setting them at a minus 172. If it's Garrett Cole, closer to probably about a minus 155. And if it's neither of those guys, you're looking at more like a minus 120, minus 125. So, wide range of outcomes here. Schlittler against Lambert, 7.5 or less like the over, 8 or higher to the under. I'd probably roll with that with Garrett Cole as well. And then if it's not these guys, I'm probably looking at 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under. So, I mean, there's a lot of range there. Like, if you get Cam Schlittler, he has an ERA that is nearly triple at home what it is away from home, but still, guy has been very rock solid, and I do think that those splits are going to iron out a little bit more as the season goes along. Overall for the season, 8.216 ERA, 0.8 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings, getting 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He, no doubt about it, has been the real deal for this team. Again, still posting up an ERA about a 371 at home compared to a 114 away from home, but like what I've been seeing there. On the flip side for Peter Lambert, he is a guy that might be doing for a little bit of regression, and we're starting to see that. 368 ERA, closer to about a 380 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings, gives up that 9 spot against the LA Angels. He's actually now been better away from home rather than at home due to that one. I think that he'll be able to bounce back. Prior to that, he was posting up a sub 325 ERA, and this is an Astros bullpen that ever since June 1st, they've been a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Getting back Josh Hader has made all the difference in the world. Now, we know that the coaching staff is going to be pretty much let go at the end of the season, so it's going to be interesting to see how these guys fight through that. You got Daniel De Los Santos with over a 4 ERA, but Kai Wei Tang is a nice long guy. Brian Abreu, after a terrible start to the season last 2 months, he's been posting up a sub 250 ERA. Bennett Sosa's toilet bowl a little bit, but Steven Okert, he's down to about a 2 or so ERA, and when it comes to the Astros, a little bit of a top-heavy lineup here. You know what you're getting out of Yordan Alvarez. 35-plus home runs, over a 435 on base. Isaac Paredes, about a 350 on base. He's been able to give you 16-plus home runs. Jeremy Pena has been able to give you some boom. He's hitting about a 285. And Jose Altuve has been kicking up that average a little bit, but the mix-and-match outfielders like Lamont Wade Jr., along with Cam Smith, Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo, the currently injured Bryce Matthews, these are all guys hitting at 230 or lower. Dalton Varsho right around about at 233. And then you do have Yanier Diaz, who hits about 255, but only 282 on base. Meanwhile, for the Yankees, they get back Cody Bellinger yesterday, and he hits a home run. That is big for a lineup that, over the last 48 games, they're averaging about 3.5 runs per game. So they certainly needed that. Jazz Chisholm, Trent Grisham, they've been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, but both are hitting below a 230. Spencer Jones is hitting right around a 230. Austin Wells has been useless at the catcher spot. George Lombard, he's been able to do a nice job moving the line, not going to give you a ton of power. Luis Garcia is along with Ben Rice, but the forte of this Yankees team has really been the bullpen. These guys like Paul Blackburn, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hedrick, David Benner have all been able to give you a sub-325 ERA, along with Yuri De Los Santos as well. So it's going to be an interesting spot, because even if it's Paul Blackburn, I'd probably be going closer to a minus 130. So I mean, it's really going to depend. And then, like I said, if it's Cam Schledler, minus 172 is my number on the Yankees. More like a minus 155 with Garrett Cole bullpen game / like a mix and match starter. Elmer Rodriguez looking at like a minus 125. So it's very much up in the air there. And then, like I said, Schledler or Garrett Cole, 7.5 or less to the over, 8 or higher to the under. Not those guys, 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under. 969, 970 on the card. It is the Blue Jays, and they are going to be playing us to the Kansas City Royals, as Randy Dobnak is going to be on the bump for the Royals, and you've got Shane Bieber, who is supposed to get the start here for the Blue Jays, but he lands on the injury list, so right now it is listed as to be determined. This was an opening number of the Blue Jays being a minus 132 favorite and plus 112 on the Royals, and that initial total that I was seeing was an 8.5. You are finding the over and the under, both right around about a minus 105 to a minus 115, and for the Blue Jays, I had to set them at a minus 168 with Shane Bieber in some sort of bullpen game where I'm thinking Simeon Woods Richardson is probably going to be contributing, what have you. I'd still be willing to lay that minus 132 number. Like, I'm right now landing on a minus 148 right now. This is subject to a little bit of change because we just had Mr. Shane Bieber go on the injury list, but still, I think that you got some value here. And then if we can get that 8.5 that I was seeing a little bit before, I'm going to be in on the over. A 9 or higher would push me in on the under. But for Randy Dobnak, this guy is way, way, way overdue for regression. Like, holy crud. I have no idea how this guy has a sub-2 ERA right now. He's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in every one of his appearances, aside from one thus far this season. I think that was the Cubs game that he had, but I mean, he's getting 5.9 strikeouts, so about 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Not very inspiring there. Meanwhile, for this Blue Jays bullpen, they've actually been a very solid bullpen. This bullpen is right now ranked in the top 10 in terms of ERA. Meanwhile, for the Royals, they are currently 29th with a 5.21 ERA. Simeon Woods Richardson, like I said, I think that he's going to be contributing to this game. He's been posting up a sub-2 ERA ever since he got to the Toronto Blue Jays. If he can get into that back half, Tyler Rogers, Louis Varland, these have been 2 guys that will be able to give you a sub-250 ERA. I would think Spencer Miles might be contributing as well. He made a few starts earlier in the season, and I mean, he's thrown 80 innings across 40 appearances, so he can give you multiple innings. He's been posting up an ERA that's been hovering in the neighborhood about a 3 as well, and for the Kansas City Royals, they've been a little bit better with their bullpen ERA recently, but still, you have to have all sorts of question mark and concern there, as you've got these guys like John Schreiber has been able to give you a sub-375 ERA. Daniel Lynch has been solid, but now he's needed to be a starter for the team. Mason Black, he's been posting up a 4.60 ERA. They're looking at him as a bulk guy as well. You've got Craig Kimbrell, Steven Cruz, both posting up over a 3.50 ERA. It's been awful for Lucas Erceg and company, so not great there. And for the Kansas City Royals, they're only averaging about 3.7 runs per game away from home. That is dead last in the American League. Salvador Perez, Bobby Witt Jr., Carter Jensen, all between 16 and 17 home runs, and you know that Witt Jr. is going to get on base with a 365 on base, all those stolen bases. Salvador Perez actually has a stolen base as many as Carter Jensen, but I mean, both of those guys are hitting at 225 or less. Jack Aglione's up to a 275 average, 22 home runs, and then you've had Michael Massey be able to give you a 275 with a little bit of power, but Vinny Pasquantino just continues to be injured for the team. These guys, like a Nick Lofton at the bottom of the fold, not give you a whole heck of a lot, and for the Blue Jays, they do continue to be a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation. Even yesterday against Seth Lugo, they were having their issues. We've only got one guy on the roster with over 12 home runs, and Kazuma Okamoto has been able to give you over 25 home runs. They do get back Flagler Jr. yesterday, and he's been able to hit about a 260 for the team, but again, only about 6 or 7 home runs for him thus far this season. Now, these guys like a Charles McAdoo, Brett Bateman, their young guys are stepping up, giving the Blue Jays a little bit of production there. Ernie Clement is hitting at 285, AC Sanchez like a 265. You've got guys getting on base, but just not really a lot of power, but I do think that they're going to be able to get to Dominic here. So, like I said, in the Blue Jays bullpen game, I'm willing to lay it to minus 147 there, and then 8.5 or less, the over, 9 or higher, the under. 971, 972 on the card. It's White Sox. They're going to be playing against the Rangers as Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored here for Texas, and Sean Burke is on the bump for the White Sox, and White Sox who find themselves as a favorite, minus 130 to minus 135. Meanwhile, plus 110 to plus 120 is a number on the Walker Texas Rangers. 8 is the total. Under is minus 110 to a minus 120. Over is even a minus 110. And I'm going to be in on the White Sox. I set them out a minus 151. I really liked what I've seen out of Sean Burke this far this season, hovering right around about 9.8, 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, a 3.26 ERA with a fielding dependent that's very much in line with that. He's only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, and this is a Rangers bunch that they have struggled on offense. 28th in the league in terms of run creation away from home with about 4 runs per game. Now, I do think that that's doing for a little bit of positivity. Corey Seager is starting to look like his normal self since coming off the injury list. Wyatt Langford has been a little bit up and down, but he, Justin Foscue, Brandon Nimmo, have quite a few guys in between about a 250 to a 265, and then we've been able to get some low-key production out of Cody Freeman, who's been able to hit above a 275 for this unit, so that's relatively solid. You've got Jock Peterson, who's been giving you 20-plus home runs as a platoon guy. And then for the White Sox, this continues to be a top 8 team in terms of run production. Just absolutely destroyed Jacob deGrom in the first inning yesterday. We have a trio of guys, Wataka Murakami, Colson Montgomery, Miguel Vargas, who have all been able to give you at least 24 home runs. No batting average whatsoever out of Montgomery, hitting like a 211, but Murakami, even though he's hitting like a 225, 360 on base for he and Vargas, and then same man Tadachi is able to give you 360 on base. Tristan Peters hitting at 275. Chase Meadroth is moving line. And for the White Sox, since July 1st, they've been a top 5 team in terms of bullpen area. Now, they've got Oscar Brisbane and Chris Murphy on the injury list, but Jordan Hicks, Sean Newcomb, Grant Taylor, Brian Hudson also playing a sub-350 ERA. And for the Texas Rangers, they've had a little bit of a tough time sorting out their bullpen. You've got Tyler Alexander up to now about a 350 ERA. The Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, along Chase Silseth. These guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but Robbie Alstrom, Cole Winn, these mix and match guys, they just have not been tremendous. Jordan Montgomery is like a human white flag at this point. And for Mackenzie Gore, if you look at the strikeout numbers, he's been getting just a hair below 10 strikeouts per 9 innings while giving up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. He would appear to be doing for some positivity on the 4.26 ERA, 3.70 fielding dependent. Problem is, he's been a home merchant, 2.99 ERA at home, 5.42 ERA away from him. So, circumstance where I'm going to be willing to take the White Sox here, set them at a minus 151. I did set my total at 8.3, so in on the 8 to the over as well as the White Sox. 973, 974 on the card. You've got the Minnesota Twins on the road against the Athletics. JT Ginn is on the bump for the Athletics. Connor Priedlip for the Minnesota Twins. Twins minus 135 to minus 145 favorites, and between plus 120 to plus 130. That number on the Athletics, 10 is the total. Over and under between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I actually do like the under here. I did set my number on the under at a 9.7, and for the Twins, I can only make them a minus 121 favorite. For JT Ginn, I actually think that he's going to be able to go out there and give you a relatively good start here. As for Ginn, the big thing is he has been giving up about 4 walks per 9 innings. He's one of the few guys for the Athletics, though, that doesn't have absolutely wackadoo home and road splits, because Sacramento has just absolutely destroyed the numbers of Athletics pitchers. 358 home ERA, 363 ERA away from home, and at home he's only giving up about 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. Byron Buxton has not been himself since coming off the injury, hitting less than a $125 since he has done so. Now, you do have Brooks Lee along with Cody Clemens, who both been able to give you 20-plus home runs thus far this season, and then Ryan Jeffers moves the line. He's hitting for over a 350 on base, along Lucas Shaw is giving you like a 360 on base. We've had Royce Lewis ever since coming up from the minor league level be a little bit better, but these mix and match guys like Victor Carantini, Ryan Kreidler, what are you going to be able to get there? And on the flip side for the Athletics, just all sorts of injuries. Top 3 home run hitters, Shea Langoliers, Nick Kurtz, Tyler Soderstrom all on the injury list. Zach Aloff has been able to give you 14 home runs, but he's one of just 2 guys in the starting lineup yesterday with over 7 home runs this season. Though you do have guys that get on base, the likes of Alika Williams, Goloff, Jeff McNeil, Carlos Cortez, all in between about a 255 to a 270. Henry Bolte has been able to hit above a 270, so these guys have been solid. Now, what's not been solid, the Athletics, posting up well above a 650 bullpen ERA over the last 60 days. Like, you just have not been able to find a lot of good production, but it seems to be working itself out a little bit. Scott Blewett, sub 350 ERA, Luis Medina, Hogan Harris, sub 4 ERAs. Elvis Alvarado has actually been improving as the season goes along, and for the Minnesota Twins, to their credit, this has been a bullpen that since July 1st, they've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Still have absolutely no faith whatsoever in Travis Adams along Taylor Rogers, but they pick up AJ Minter, Jeff Hoffman at the trade deadline. These have been good pieces. Andrew Morris has been able to give you a sub 4 ERA. Yandris Gomez in a Twins uniform has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Had a little bit of an issue a few days ago, but I do think that this is going to be a bit of a lower scoring game. And for Connor Prelip, he's been a little bit better than what the ERA would indicate, but you do have to have a little bit of fear with regards to the walks issues that he's been having, as right now he has given this team about a 5.57 ERA, fielding dependent more around about a 4.11, 1.2 home runs, 3.7 walks per 9 innings with about 9.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. So plus 122 or better put me in on the Athletics on the money line. I do like the under, somebody told 9.7. 975, 976 on the card. The Phillies are going to be on the road against the Mariners as Brian Wu says woohoo to another start, and Jesus Luzardo, he goes for the Phillies. Phillies do find themselves as a mid-tier favorite here, as you're going to be laying with them anywhere between minus 125 to a minus 130, between plus 105 to a plus 115 is that number on Seattle. 7 is the total. The under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105. And right now for the Mariners, if you're looking to take a run half with them on the run line, you're going to be getting that at about a minus 165. I was hoping for a little bit of a better price there, but that said, I do think that we're getting some value here on the under. I typically don't take a 7 to the under, but I did so here. I set my total at 6.9. Brian Wu has been woohoo at home, and he has been Brian Boo when he's been away from home thus far this season. And if you look at the overall numbers, he is doing for some positivity. He's pitched better than the 4.10 ERA, would indicate 3.29 fielding dependent, 1 home run, 1.9 walks allowed per 9 innings, and he's getting about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. But again, away from home this season, a dreadful 5.96 ERA away from home, giving up 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. At home, closer to about 0.55 home runs per 9 innings, 1.96 ERA, a full 4-point difference. And for Jesus Luzardo, another guy that's pitched better than what the ERA would indicate, 3.35 ERA, closer to a 2.84 fielding dependent, 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, and he's another guy with big home and road splits. This time the opposite. When Jesus Luzardo has been away from home, a more than incredible 1.95 ERA away from home. He's allowed 2 home runs in 78 plus innings, and then at home he gives up closer to 1.4 home runs per 9 innings with a 4.75 ERA. And you do have a Phillies lineup that has been in the bottom 3 in the National League in terms of run creation when they have been away from home. And with the Phillies, obviously, you've got Kyle Schwarber giving you all the Schwarber bombs, 37 home runs. That's been incredible for the team, actually up to 39 home runs with what he did over the weekend, about a 350 or so on base. And then Bryce Harper, over a 370 on base, he's up to 26 home runs. But it's the other guys. Alec Boehm is now hitting about a 245. Along Trey Turner, Bryson Stott is giving you over a 340 on base. Justin Crawford is finding a way to get on base. Catcher spot has been rough, but Phillies lineup from top to bottom looking a little bit better. And then for the Seattle Mariners, you've had Randy Arozarena come alive. He, Dom Canzone, Julio Rodriguez, all between 19 to 20 home runs. For Rodriguez, Canzone, they're in the neighborhood about a 252, 255. Arozarena about a 370 on base. But then you've got the bottom of the fold where Taylor Ward, after he had 30 home runs last year, down to 7 this year. Did have Cal Raleigh have a 3 home run game earlier in the week, but he's still been a disappointment. Brock Rodden is now playing shortstop because Brendan Donovan is right now dealing with a concussion. Now both of these bullpens, bottom 7 in terms of ERA since July 1st. As for the Mariners, they just dealt with a lot of injury with Matt Brash, Cooper Criswell being out of the fold. You've got Jose Ferrer now above a 350 ERA. Edward Bizarro continues to be rock solid though. 305 ERA. Gabe Spire has been able to hold down the fort, and then Andres Munoz, after a really rough start to the season, he's been a little bit better. And for the Phillies, Yohan Duran is a shutdown closer for the team, but Orion Kirkering up to a 350 ERA. Jonathan Bolin and Brooks Raley are relatively solid, but Jose Alvarado, nearly a 6 ERA. These guys like Chase Shogert and company have not been great, but I do think that these starters both go out there, fill a bunch of innings for you, and that's why I do like the under, so I total 6.9. And for the Phillies, just feel like they're a little bit more complete, willing to lay up to minus 125 on that money line. 977, 978 on the card. The Marlins are going to be playing us to the Red Sox. Sonny Gray hopes to have a sunny day for the Red Sox. Ryan Gusto, yes, May Gusto, to him getting a start, and right now for the Marlins, they are finding themselves as pretty good-sized underdogs. You're going to be catching them between plus 130 to a plus 143, minus 153 to minus 163. That number on Boston, 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. And if you're looking to lay the run line here with the Red Sox, finding that at a plus 110, and I'm going to be willing to lay a run half with the Red Sox, plus 102 or better, had me in there. Now for Sonny Gray, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, lowest that it's been since the 2016 campaign, but still has been able to maintain a good rock solid ERA. Right now it's posting up about a 2.79 ERA. It's giving up only about 1 home run per 9 innings, less than 2.5 walks per 9, so he keeps things out in front of him, but the 360 fielding dependent does point towards a little bit of regression. Meanwhile for Ryan Gusto, 4.37 ERA, 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. He's posting up a fielding dependent that's a 4, so should be doing for a little bit of positivity, but for the Miami Marlins since July 1st, posting up above a 4.60 ERA, and they had Tyler Phillips give you a relatively okay start yesterday, but they did have to go through quite a bit of that bullpen. Tyler Zuber's above a 4.80 ERA. Michael Peterson, great name, he's posting up closer to about a 3.50 ERA. You just have not been able to get anything whatsoever out of Calvin Fauché this year. Cade Gibson has been a little bit of a lost cause, and for the Marlins, this is a unit that's in the bottom 6 of the big leagues in terms of home runs out of per at basis. Alberto Hernandez is up to 19 home runs, give you about a 3.15 on base, but the specialty of this team is stolen bases. Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, Jacob Murphy, Asterio Ruiz, all these 19 stolen bases this year, and Ruiz about a 3.60 on base, 29 stolen bases in like 157 at bats, so that's been pretty incredible. Javier Sanja sitting about a 2.75. They're getting Kyle Stowers off the injury list, 16 home runs, about a 3.30 on base, so that'll help out the offense a little bit, and for the Red Sox, averaging over 5.5 runs per game ever since the All-Star break. Now, they've left a lot of men on base in the series thus far, but Nick Sogard has given you like a 3.90 on base along with Wilson Contreras, and for Contreras, he's been carrying the mail this year. He's been able to give you over 23 home runs, but how about Mickey Gasper? Like 5 home runs over the last 2 weeks. He's starting to come alive. Andrew Maristerio's now hitting about a 2.55. You've had Weiler Abreu, Cedon Rafael be top 10 home run hitters in the American League since the All-Star break, and the Red Sox, they continue to be numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA in the league, even with having Garrett Woodlock on the injury list. You've got likes of Teron Guerrero, Eric Miller, Giovanni Moore, and Brian Bale. I'll give you a sub 350 ERA, getting the ball to a roll to Chapman, and for Bale, sub 350 ERA in the bullpen, not overall because he was absolutely terrible as the starter of this season, but I trust in that a lot more than this Marlins bullpen, so do like the over sub I told it at 8.1, and for the Red Sox, plus 102 or better in on that run line, and wrap things up with 970 to 980. The Orioles are going to be on the road against the Cardinals as Michael McGreevy goes for the Cards, and going to most likely have here Kyle Bradish for the Orioles. A little bit of TBD with regards to McGreevy going for the St. Louis Cardinals, but we're seeing an opener or two. Cardinals and the Orioles both at a minus 108 to a minus 110. Total on this game between an 8 to an 8.5 on the 8.5 under minus 120. Over is even on the 8. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. If we can get the 8, I want that over because I did set my total at an 8.4. For Kyle Bradish, he's been quite a bit better recently, but I still do have some concerns with the command. And last 2 seasons, he was posting up over 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has seen quite a bit of a fall off with that this season. 8.4 strikeouts to 3.9 walks per 9 innings. 370 ERA compared to a 3.99 fielding independent. Now he's given up 300 runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts, but a little bit concerning the fact that he has been giving up all those walks, and we have been seeing a dive with regards to swing and miss stuff. And Michael McGreevy, not a guy that's going to be going out there and getting strikeouts. And if it's not McGreevy in this ordeal and it's like Quinn Matthews or something like that, I would be setting the Orioles as a favorite. Right now, I set the Cardinals at a minus 118, so this relative pick and price, minus 108, minus 110, good to be in there. But I'd be setting the Orioles more around about a minus 110, minus 115 if it's someone like a Quinn Matthews. So I do actually put McGreevy in relatively higher regard, despite the fact that he's only getting the 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.2 home runs, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, at 3.54 ERA, fielding dependent, more in that neighborhood, about a 4.10. And for Michael McGreevy, when he's been at home this year, relatively solid at keeping the ball in the air, giving up about 1.1 to 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. Goes up against an Orioles team that has been a little bit all or nothing. Now, Pete Alonso's up to 30 home runs, and he's been able to give you over a 350 on base, so he's been able to really rectify his season after a little bit of a slow start, but you're going to need a little bit more on base. Some of these guys like Kobe Mayo and also Gunnar Henderson, pair of guys who have 17 plus home runs this year, but both are giving you about a 300 or so with regards to the on base. As a matter of fact, for Mayo, more like a 275. Christian Encarnacion strain, though, small sample size, another guy that's not getting on base, but he's up to 7 bombs. Samuel Basayo, 300 on base, but he's been able to give you 15 plus home runs. Leody Taveras, Tyler O'Neill, guys like this at the bottom of the fold. You need a little bit more there. And then for the Cardinals, they're actually last in the National League in run creation at home with about 3.8 runs per game. They would get back Nolan Gorman. I don't know what that's going to do for them. Joshua Baez had that big 3 home run game against the Cubs. Ever since then, he's done nothing, so we need to wait and see there. But you do have Ivan Herrera, J.J. Weatherhold, Alec Burleson, all between about a 345 to a 360 on base, with Burleson up to 20-plus home runs, helping out Jordan Walker, who's been able to give you 24-plus bombs. Nathan Church not really getting on base, but did get his 10th home run this season yesterday. And for the Cardinals, it has been a bit of a shaky bullpen. You've got Caleb Ferguson with an ERA hovering right around above 4. George Soriano, Riley O'Brien have both seen their ERAs above a 385, with O'Brien just absolutely gas-canning that game over the weekend against the Philadelphia Phillies. But Gordon Gaseffo, Justin Brule, these guys have been solid in the bullpen. And for the Orioles, to their credit, top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. You've had Andrew Kittredge really pick it up after a rough start to the season. You've had Alex Hoppe, ever since he's come over to Baltimore, be a much better pitcher than he was at Seattle. At Seattle, he just was not giving you anything whatsoever. And then you've got Uncle Rico Garcia, Yanier Cano, give you a sub-325 ERA. So, interesting circumstance here. If we can get that 8, I like the over. And again, if Michael McGreevy's on the mound, I'm willing to lay the money line, set him at minus 118. If it's not Michael McGreevy, the Orioles become my minus 110 favorite. So, depends upon if McGreevy is out there or not. And that'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network for joining me in the last segment. If you like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, the Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at Junit_81. Keep in mind, Lars ZM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day, give you guys picks and analysis on every single game, every single day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.